It seems like there's always been this secretive underlying government at play throughout United States history. So it's almost like cyclical. It's almost like it's a group that you're brought into, like a fraternity, a weird evil fraternity where they bring you in and then you're a member, and then as you get older and you expire, they bring in new members. So if it's a 650 person deep state, that's how many members
that keeps growing.
Continues
obviously.
to grow and continues to bring in new members. How I know Trump has talked about draining the swamp and defeating the deep state, and I know that you have the list of 650. How do you weed out and start to remove these people from their positions of power so that you completely eradicate it? Because I feel like a lot of the criticism that President Trump has received from his first go at being president was that he didn't drain the swamp. But I don't know if he actually understood the significance of what he was getting involved in when he signed up for the job. Yes, running the country, but I really don't think the majority of Americans understood that there was a deep state. Despite the Zapruder film, despite the questions about 9/11, despite the questions about COVID-19, it really took Donald Trump getting part of his ear shot off in Butler, Pennsylvania 2 weeks ago for a good number of Americans to wake up and go, oh, there are evil forces at play. So that being said, President Trump wasn't able to do it in his first term because he really didn't understand the sheer magnitude of what he was undertaking. This go-round, if you were to be an advisor to him, how do you go in after you're elected January 2025 and you start to dismantle this structure that has been built over the past 200 years within our government, but acting against the best interests of the American people?
Great question. I got to divide this up into 3 points. Number one, how far does this go back? You started off with the conversation. I can take you back in detail back to 1973 with the junior senator from Delaware, right? And how he served on the Senate Judiciary Committee that then created the FISA court, the original one. And then we can take and step it through back into the early 2000s. I'm not going to go into those details. I've done really long form podcasts going into that level of detail. Whether it's, you can go to my Rumble channel and look at the longer form podcasts, the ones that are hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours. It goes into the entire history of the deep state, specifically 50 years. Now, the political party structure in America goes back to the 1830s was the Democrat Party, and then 1854 was when the Republican Party was created. So 99% of political power in this country has rested with two institutions, essentially, the Democrat and Republican Party, going back to those, arguably to 1854, right? And with the first president under the Republican banner would have been Lincoln. So that's kind of like the context of it. The second piece, what you're talking about, is during the first term of President Trump, the reason why he was not able to proverbially drain the swamp is because, one, he didn't know the level of detail of who, what, when, where, and why, like the whole components of what the government looks like and who the criminal actors were. And they were able to buy time by removing the one trusted close advisor that was with President Trump, and that was General Flynn. And so they've been able to buy time because they've removed those individuals that would be able to create consequences to the deep state. General Flynn, Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, everybody that's been weaponized against, it's specifically deliberate because those are the individuals in the best position to come after these scum, to do the proverbial castration of the deep state. And so now, after 4 years and almost 4 years now, kind of observing and learning as well externally, I think President Trump is in a different position where he has learned, along with, you have Kash Patel advising him, Devin Nunes. Those are probably two individuals that understand the most of these individuals, right, that are in close proximity to President Trump. So now he's in a position, should he come back into office, right? I mean, they're not going to let him in, first of all.
Yeah.
I think there's really only one play that guarantees his return. We can talk about that at the end. But I don't know if right now people are ready for that methodology. It's legal, moral, ethical, constitutionally. But let's just make the assumption that he comes back in under kind of my play, because I think the other plays will not work. And my advice would be as follows. You have to there has to be a federated policy where the federal government and the states, through all of its institutions, starts to declassify everything, right? As it applies to the domestic kind of activity that's been occurring with the violation of different civil rights. I think when you declassify the assassinations of Robert F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, John F. Kennedy, when you start to disclose all of that, you will start to peel the onion, and you're going to start to see names of individuals with last names at the highest levels that their family members are still in the political circuit. They will be exposed. And as America learns outside of the censorship regime, because they've been able to survive because of the censorship and the cover-ups, once we're able to break through fully, Elon's doing a great job with, right? We got Truth Social, you got Getter, you got Gab, you got Rumble, right? Those Substack, those platforms allow us to expose reality. Once we bankrupt Facebook, Insta Garbage, CommieTube, Roytards, Raw Sewage, Washington Compost, New Woke Slimes, that's when they will no longer be in a position to create the false narrative and cover up for their transgressions. And that's when the American jury pool will be demanding that something be brought forward through their elected representatives, known as the district attorney, known as the sheriff, so that when it comes into the trial at the state level, they are ready to convict. Like they'll go through voir dire and jury selection. The defense will not find a single person that will say, no, you're going down. You are going down because the evidence has been presented to the entire country. And that's when the cleansing can start.
Ivan, so I want to get into the assassination attempt and all that stuff, this craziness that's happened over the past 2 weeks. But you were talking about, so Crossfire Hurricane was the illegal spying campaign on Trump and Carter Page, General Flynn, George Papadopoulos. I heard you speak on this once before, Ivan. I just want to make sure I'm right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but because it was along the lines of why he's such a threat, why they have to try to kill him. And I think you mentioned the fact that the Mar-a-Lago raid by the FBI, I'm using your acronym, was to seize the evidence that was declassified by Trump on his last few hours in his first term, which involved everything, which involved all the spying, all the everything. Is that one of the main reasons, Ivan, why he is such a threat? Why they have to try to take him out? And I do want to hear your thought on the next move. But yeah, what do you think? Is that one of the main reasons why he's such a threat to the deep state?
Short answer, absolutely. Let me go into a little bit more detail and context.
Yes.
So, a couple data points. And you can look all this up, producer, whatever. I mean, you can fact check, law check everything I'm about to say. So, Mark Meadows, who was President Trump's last chief of staff towards the end of his first term, in the last few hours, declassified quite a bit of things. Oh, not him, but President Trump authorized the declassification under his authority as the president. Everything related to Crossfire Hurricane.
Good.
What does that involve? When you look at everything related to Crossfire Hurricane, that would mean the Sentinel system at the FBI, which captures every single keystroke of official actions by the FBI. Okay. Well, what does that mean? That means that we're going to find out exactly who was manipulating the original, what's called the FD302, that was the notes that was put into digital form of the interview conducted by the FBI's Pete Strzok and Joe Pientka with General Flynn, where they said that he wasn't lying, but it was later Andy McCabe's lawyer, who was also the lover of Peter Strzok, one of those two guys, that later in August of 2017 started to move to manipulate that original FD302 to make it look like General Flynn was fired. And that was used by the Mueller team to go ahead and coerce General Flynn into a guilty plea, along with them saying that we're going to use our unlimited budget to go after your son that just had his own first child. And if you don't plead guilty, we will do everything in our power to get your son. This is mob boss tactics, right? What else is going to be found in the declassified Crossfire Hurricane documents? They're going to find out that Joseph Pientka III, who we referred to earlier, testified before the Senate in 2020, Senate Judiciary. And you're going to find in his notes and interactions likely that he did not believe General Flynn was lying when he was there interviewing him. But in fact, he was given, he being Pientka, was given a thing called a Woods file. That's the file that is used to present before the FISA court to then open the spying operation on Carter Page, which launched the spying op into the Trump campaign. Joseph Pientka, through his interactions within the official channels, you're going to find the following data set. Two things. One, the original Woods file, which was signed off by the FBI director, has been destroyed. But we're going to be able to find it. And why was it destroyed? It's because it was a fraudulent FISA Woods file request of the FISA court. Why? Because one of the other lawyers, Kevin Kleinsmith at the FBI, doctored an email that was sent to him by his counterpart at the CIA when Kevin asked, hey, is Carter Page doing debriefs after his trips to Russia for his private capacity oil and gas deals? That CIA officer said, actually, well, in this instance, it would have been the CIA officer said, yes, Carter Page is doing everything by the book and reporting back to us. The FBI lawyer, Kevin Kleinsmith, changes that to a no, uses that document to then inform the senior intel analyst on Crossfire Hurricane, a dude by the name of Brian Auten, to then create this false fraudulent Woods file with his assessment that there needs to be an opening of a FISA warrant on Carter Page so that they could spy on Carter Page, everyone he talks to, and everyone that they talk to, meaning the entire Trump campaign. That is just the minimum of what's going to be disclosed with what was declassified by President Trump and Mark Meadows. And so for the FBI to protect itself and all the names that I mentioned and then some, they had to raid Mar-a-Lago so that President Trump could not use that evidence in his lawsuit against the criminal, or the lawsuit, the RICO lawsuit that President Trump did against the very DOJ and the FBI, based on the evidence that he declassified.
Yeah.
They were done.
Yeah, go ahead,
And
Rob.
then in addition to that, General Flynn filed a $20 million civil lawsuit against the same individuals, which is still an open case that we're waiting on the judge to allow the case to move forward in Florida. If it does, the very first person to be subpoenaed is going to be Joe Pientka. And number two is going to be Mikey Pence.
Mikey.
Why Mikey Pence? Because Mike Pence's chief of staff during this period of time was Josh Pitcock, married to Catherine Seaman, who was the senior Russia analyst for Pete Strzok, one of the two agents sent to go ahead and get General Flynn to lie or to get him fired. You see how incestuous all this is and why they fear me? Because
You got receipts.
It all.
Ivan, you have receipts.
and that raid, but by the way, the classified documents raid, remember, those charges have been dropped by the judge here in Florida. I know that there was a move to try and
For Jack Smith, yeah, they tried to bring it back, but it's not going to happen.
But that was the same raid, Ivan, where the FBI.
But Jack Smith wants it dropped.
Yeah,
because the DOJ doesn't want the case to move forward because it's going to expose everything.
Yeah.
But that's the same raid.
General Flynn's case is really important to proceed.
Yeah,
and that's the same raid that the FBI authorized the use of deadly force when they went to a former president's
that was
house.
The first attempt at assassination during that raid.
And I have this, and it's from it's from Newsweek, so you can believe whatever you would like to. But here's a quote from the article: FBI was prepared to use deadly force at Mar-a-Lago raid. This is May 22nd. Agents plan to bring standard issue weapons, ammo, handcuffs, and medium and large size bolt cutters when they raided Mar-a-Lago. So they went in there, weapons drawn, ready for a case that they ended up dropping anyway.
Yeah.
So now you understand why I label the America's biggest threat domestic terrorist organization is the FBI. And the biggest scum warlord currently in our borders is Christopher Ray Epps. Yes, pronounced Christopher Ray Epps. The current domestic terrorist organization warlord who heads the FBI.
He's actually in front of Congress today too, Ivan.
Sorry?
He went in front of Congress today. I'm sorry to cut you off. He's in front of Congress today speaking of the assassination attempt. And yeah, I don't trust that guy. That guy turned down one of the most lucrative job offers just to go to the FBI and have that job of power doing exactly what he's doing. So
since we're talking about Chris Wray, and he's on my list, obviously.
Yeah.
You know that he was Chris Christie's lawyer during Bridgegate?
He was Chris Christie's lawyer?
Yeah, during Bridgegate scandal.
Oh, damn. I didn't even know that.
And another data point, it should start to kind of make things make sense here as it applies to Chris Christie and why he did what he did over the last year and a half as it applies to running for president, etc. The other component that you need to be aware of is Christopher Wray was a partner at King and Spalding at the same time that Sally Yates, the former acting attorney general during this whole Crossfire hurricane op, was the acting AG. Sally Yates, Chris Wray, this is all incestuous generational relationship corruption that at this point, I could care less what they do to me because they're coming down with me if they go and choose that path.
What's up, everybody? Vincent O'Shaughnessy here. If you want to see me and the entire Valuetainment crew, we will be at the Vault Conference September 4th through the 7th at the Palm Beach Convention Center, hosted by none other than Patrick Bet-David and featuring Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Guys, this is the place to be. If you are an entrepreneur and you want to level up, do not miss this opportunity. This is the best place to network. If you want tickets, go to thevaultconference.com. Do not waste time. This thing is going to sell out, and I will see you guys there. Peace and love. So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.